You may think that Little Nightmares 3 is just another dark, twisted journey filled with terrifying creatures and impossible odds. But just like the previous games, these monsters aren't what they seem, because when you begin to look deeper, you realize that the horror isn't about what's chasing you, it's about what's haunting you. This time, the monsters aren't feeding on flesh or fear. Well, they kind of are, but not the main ones. They're feeding on something far more human: Lo's trauma. The story follows Lo and Alone, two children navigating the surreal, distorted world of Little Nightmares. On the surface, it's another grim adventure through impossible places, but symbolically, it's the inside of a child's mind. Lo is the real protagonist here. The environments, the creatures, and even his companion alone all seem to stem from his subconscious. You see, Little Nightmares 3 hints that Lo is undergoing therapy in an asylum, and everything we see, every sound, shadow, and monster, is a projection of his fears and memories. In this world, Alone isn't just another survivor. She's a manifestation of Lo's will to heal, his inner voice trying to tell him to overcome the traumas that have shaped him. And as Lo faces each nightmare, he's not fighting real monsters, he's confronting fragments of his past, fears that once controlled him. The first monster we encounter is a giant baby, a grotesque infant that freezes anyone it sees before snatching them up like toys. It's more than a simple jump scare. This creature could symbolize Lo's early childhood trauma, perhaps from his kindergarten years. Imagine being a small child surrounded by people so much bigger than you: classmates, caretakers, all towering figures who could take away your things, your safety, your sense of control. To Lo, this towering baby embodies that feeling of being small, helpless, and insignificant. A distorted memory of being bullied or dominated, replayed through the eyes of fear. Next, we move to the candy factory, where we meet the supervisor, a six limbed woman constantly watching over conveyor belts and machinery. She never looks directly at Lo, only at her work, but she does grab him and kill him if he makes a sound. This isn't just another authority figure. The supervisor represents a parent or a guardian, consumed by work, who is emotionally distant but physically present. In this world, the candy bars she gives on treats, their bribes for silence, a way to say, "Don't disturb me." To Lo, this monster might not be that much evil. She is heartbreaking, a symbol of neglect disguised as care, where love is replaced with obligation and attention with convenience. The third monster found in the carnival is the puppet master, a haunting figure controlling lifeless dolls on tangled strings, forcing them to dance endlessly. At first, this might just seem like a universal childhood fear. Puppets have always been uncanny, almost human, but not quite. But for Lo, it represents the fear of being controlled, of not having agency in a world that constantly pulls your strings. As a child in therapy, it could symbolize his internal struggle against manipulation, or perhaps an adult in his life who dictated his every move. Interestingly, the carnival also features a shadowy figure resembling the runaway kid from the first game's DLC, hinting that Little Nightmares 3 may take place before those events, or even in a fragmented version of the same nowhere. Finally, we reach the asylum, Lo's ultimate test. Here he faces the giant doctor, a monstrous being spread across the walls, with his eyes watching everything. He doesn't just attack directly, he observes, analyzes, and then attacks. a terrifying metaphor for institutional control and the suffocating nature of being watched. For Lowe, this represents his therapists, psychiatrists, or even the system itself. Those who are supposed to help but instead make him feel exposed and powerless. Well, the doctor's eyes on his bodies are basically spread across the asylum, which show how fear of scrutiny can turn healing into horror. It's the anxiety of being seen too deeply. The feeling that someone looks too closely, they'll find out what's truly broken inside you. In the end, Lo escapes the asylum and alone disappears. It's not a tragic ending, it's somewhat a cathartic one. Probably the only one that's good out of all the three Little Nightmares games. Because Alone was never real, she was his coping mechanism, the part of him that guided him through each fear until he no longer needed her. When she fades, it's symbolic of Lo finally moving on, no longer trapped by the nightmares of his past. It's bittersweet but fitting because the Little Nightmares universe has always been about children facing impossible fears, and sometimes the only way out is to let go of the part of you that kept you safe. So, is Little Nightmares 3 just another horror game? No, it's a psychological reflection of childhood, of fear, neglect, and the fragile process of healing. Each monster isn't there to scare Lo. They're there to show him who he is and who he must become. And that's what makes Little Nightmares so hauntingly beautiful. It's not about escaping monsters, it's about facing yourself.